Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. It's official. I'm running for your mayor. And understand this, that Abbotsford, under my mayorship and leadership, will have the RCMP in immediately. And investigations and criminal charges for insider trading on Dave Sidhu's property, covering attempted murder, the threats of Keelan Olenoff telling me to drop videos that Henry had counsel in his house, the Abbotsford police stalking me, sitting in front of my house. Well documented and well kept, and even on social media, thanks to the Mission RCMP. When Henry's son, the economic proving officer, showed that what Henry was doing with Ed Fast, Mike DeYoung, the city officials, Abbotsford residents and myself went to the RCMP. Henry went so far as using the Abbotsford police to threaten the mayor candidate, Mogel, and then me constantly to load Ross Siemens. I wonder how long it took Ross Siemens' wife to find that out. You know, when you're innocent of it, the first one that defends you is your family, and that's what the RCMP look for. The second one that defends you are the dignitaries of Abbotsford, and we didn't see Bruce Bamman come out and say anything about Henry Brown, did he? We didn't see any of this. They knew he'd done it. Henry Brown used his wealth and his political strength that he knew in the political ring. I believe, and in my opinion, it's right up in David Eby's office with the $71 million now missing out of Barreltown. What are I doing here at Ron Funk? Ron Funk's Henry Brown's partner, and Darren Brown showed me. Let me tell you, Abbotsford voters, I need to make it clear to you, and I need to show you now, and I need to show you what they did and how they did it. And that experience that I learned from Peter Wall of Wall Financial, Tony Miguel of Intertech, Cressy, and above all, Mike Dakota of Ani, when I did the North Shore Pier. In order for Ron Funk to change the zoning, they had to cut the tree down of Hope, haul rocks to remove the homeless, I showed you that, to increase sales. In order for Ron Funk to change the zoning and get from 200 to 400 because he bought the old official developer's plan, you need to restate it back to the city. You need to do fire evacuation. You need to know now you're increasing the cars, the volume of people, and you need to do that all. But you need to go jack before the general public. They didn't. Why didn't they do it? When Ron Funk, the verse, was Henry's partner, he read the campaign of Ross Siemens here. His people went into Dave Sidhu's office and were phoning. But Mark Workington, the city council, and a lawyer, him and all council of Abbotsford First were ren on this guy's property. Les Barkman didn't have a sign here. Barty Sidhu was not allowed to put her sign here because Ron Funk was going to take it down. Mr. Pelican wasn't allowed to put a sign here, but Ron Funk's office told me, we got it under good thing. We're going to get Ross in. Remember that. That was right upstairs in DeVerse's office that they were going to get him in. Boy, did they get him in. They got him in a lot of trouble. Now, these city councils and this garbage mayor owed him. And what he said in return was, you changed the density from 200 to 455. And council went behind the scenes upstairs in an enclosed meeting and penned it in. And that was the favor for Ron Funk loading them, the same they did on Cooper's Farm. This is why Peter Wall made it clear that he did not want any candidates on his development side, and so did Mike Dakota, because I'm going to lose everything, and the candidate didn't do it. Then Henry owned the Abbotsford police. They're all his. This is what he was doing, completely. It was supposed to be a conspiracy, and then I could push down on Mr. Pelican and try to get him out of town. But they didn't know behind the scenes as where the RCMP were playing a major part in my safety, on making sure everything was logged and everything. The Abbotsford men were Henry's friends. No investigator looks away from an attempted murder. No investigator doesn't take criminal reports. And you could see Dave Sidhu's property. So the question now, Colin Watts, and that is very clear, David Eby must have sent you in here and said, look at the 71 million Ross stole. And Dave Sidhu's property on Vitalis is going to get me in a lot of problems. Were you pushing the Abbotsford police to shut my mouth and do it? And then when they were making accusations that I was in town, I was reckless driving and I'm doing this, and I was at a billionaire in White Rock, they were scared to go to the billionaire because the billionaire would sue them and light them up. The Abbotsford police got to tell you about gangs and their prostitutes they got to pick up, their Dodge Chargers they got to race, and deflating the time cards and all the garbage and being Henry's loyal servant. That there is insider trading. It was preferential treatment, and it was a bloody lift. And the RCMP walk in and take it. And Colin Watts should know, coming from Victoria from David Eby, he was a man going after clubhouses. And this was unfair to all other contractors that got to play above the ground. And it was halting all their developments because he was working on his stuff and he was doing it. And then you could see this. This is why he shut down the Augustine billionaire, Darren Brown said, because the billionaire would have sales and then Henry's wouldn't sell, squashing the market. But the instrumental people that were playing it were Ed Fast and Mike DeYoung. They couldn't distance themselves because they were so confident that Henry owning the Abbotsford police could do all the damage. No one would ever think going outside of Abbotsford to the RCMP and taking the information Henry's own son, the proving officer, did. So let me tell you how criminals act. This is why the city manager fled. He used the excuse that I'm retiring and he fled. You watch Peter Speranese and many other people that were rigging these decisions call quits quickly. And they believe there's a leniency. If I quit, you can't come after me. Abbotsford has to. People's lives were threatened. They invaded and frauded Abbotsford taxpayers. They rigged decisions and they didn't care about this community. And since they were after money, we must go get what they were after, and we must get it off the table. As your mayor, I wouldn't hesitate to kick the shit out of Ron Funk of Diverse. He knew better as a developer. I know better. The average person on the street knows better than to do this. And Ron Funk believed that he could do it. This is how he could advertise the Vaquero Ranch. He could advertise this. And this is what they did to the general community. And then they said, trying to convince through Vicky Hope's newspaper, no, council, let's play. Henry, you say no, and Abbotsford First will say yes. And Henry will go, you know, again, I said no and they outvoted me, concocting the deal upstairs at Henry's house. And this is why Olenoff was so upset, because having council up at Henry's house was collaborating, winning the decision. And then Rob Funk could tell Ross Siemens, could tell Dave Sadu, could tell Mark Workington, could tell Patricia Dreesen, and could tell Patty Ross. Change that from 200 to 400 now. Yes, Mr. Funkstermeister, yes. And figured nobody would catch them. You're playing with the best. I came from this industry and I know the playing ground, and you're playing with the best. Henry's the engine of it all. Henry, at all circumstances now, has to pull out everything to get Ross Siemens in. He'll use the Abbotsford police for threatening his friends. He'll use Vicky Hopes for promoting Ross. He'll go get Brad Vist behind Ross. He'll pull every stunt there is. I have to make sure Abbotsford residents will see it, not just on social media, but will see it. Abbotsford's going to work hard with my campaign. There'll be flyers, there'll be the legal description, the address, and who the players were and how they jacked them dollars. It'll show you Dave Sadu's property. It'll show you this, what I just told you, how Ron Funk win that. The same to 3,000 on Cooper's Farm. There's a place we have for people that do this, and it's called jail. And that's where we take them and we don't look away. Insider trading, and taxpayers were going on the hook. Funkstermeister knew better. The Funkstermeister knew better. The Funkstermeister just believed that Henry was a big player up in the political ring. And Henry lost that. You could see him standing with Dave Lowens. He lost it. Nobody takes a picture with Henry. He even tried to bully, when he was no longer the mayor, Trudeau with Ross Siemens because he was so desperate for the money. All you got to do is trace the money. But guys like Rob Funk. So you ask me what would I would do with that? The Supreme Court would seize it. The profit Rob Funk made off it would have to go into Abbotsford taxpayers. And the people that own the building would get to keep it. And Rob Funk would suffer a very significant loss, just like Dave Sadu. Now, Funkstermeister, you need to get out. And you need to work very, very hard of how you can get Ross Seaman loaded because you got the Vaquero Ranch. That is why anybody standing here, Bruce Bamman, Rianne Gasper, anybody advertising this great big project because it was all illegal. Nobody's above the law. Nobody. And Henry thought he was. I'm live, Abbotsford, British Columbia, Ron Funk's place, Sage.